Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman. We're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Lance Sexton, Arkansas. Good to see you, Lance. John Dale is with PayNet. John, I think this is the second time we've had you on. I love your stuff. You have amazing stats. PayNet is part of Equifax now. Am I correct in that?
That's right. They acquired PayNet about 2 years ago.
And what do you guys do?
No, I'm on our commercial team, and we're focusing. We've long had a focus on commercial lenders, and that's banks, that's commercial finance, non-banks, also alternate finance, and our end goal is to increase Main Street small borrower access to credit, and we help those lending entities better assess credit, better monitor risk, and make better decisions. So that's it in a nutshell. Thanks for having me.
Check out their website. They have a lot of free stuff you can look at. I know you have paid products as well, but they have just tremendous amount of data, which is great. So John, thank you for your time for doing this. I know you're very busy. Where are you out of, John?
I'm out of Skokie, Illinois, just north of Chicago.
All right, very good. What's your? I know Joseph came back from Indianapolis. You guys have mild summer so far, pretty well.
Can't complain. It's less than 80, so anything less than 90 is a successful day.
I can deal with the 90 degrees. I can't deal with your humidity back there.
John, you can come on down to Arkansas, John. It was 99 yesterday and humid.
What was your humidity?
I'll leave that to you, Lance. Sounds like you got it covered. I grew up in the South in Tennessee, so I know high temperatures, and I'm comfortable where I am.
All right, now that the Coleman Weather Channel has checked in, let's get to the questions. Small business credit scores are increasing, decreasing, remaining the same. I have no clue. John, I'm going to toss this to you. Looks like it is very split. About a third. About everyone says they're all answering about the same. What's the answer from PayNet's perch?
From our perspective, we've seen them, and I'm looking over the past 12 months or so. I think the intuitive answer is what you see here, that, well, we've gone through a tough time, and so these scores will be decreasing. What we've actually seen is that the scores have gone up slightly, not a significant amount, but they've gone up, and that's partly a result of the P3 program and more borrowers having credit that they are either making payments on or they're not late on the payment. And so just an additional obligation that is not delinquent has tended to have the effect of increasing credit scores. That's what we're seeing.
Good. I love it. P3. I've never heard that acronym before. Very good. Like it. P3. Sounds.
It's easier to say.
Yeah, I like it. Let's see, John. What is your credit score? Is it? What is your model? How do you tell us what? I know what goes into it, but tell us how you report it and what goes in the model.
Sure. We've got hundreds and hundreds of lenders, also non-financial companies like utilities, telephone companies, and they report on their commercial customers to us. And we have a large database that monitors every transaction that they report to us. And, are the payments made? How much is the obligation? Is it late? Is it on time? And we take all of that information that's reported to us. We combine it with some proprietary information, some data we have on general macro economy, industry, local area also. And we pull that together to generate a credit score, which is really, it's similar to your consumer credit score. And one point I will make is that the credit score, it's kind of a rank ordering. So meaning, in a simple example, if we've got 10 businesses and, one of them is the least risky and it's got a score of 10, and at the bottom, the most risky is a score of 1. That's what the credit score is supposed to do. And so one thing that we've noticed, and that not everyone is aware of, is when you go through the Great Recession or the pandemic here, the ranking may not change. So, pre-recession, pre-COVID, those 10 companies, are in order 1 through 10. And it may be the same order during the pandemic, but the actual odds of them coming into trouble, increase, even though the score stays the same. So it really helps if you have kind of at least two different ways of looking. That's really more of a portfolio monitoring concern to make sure that, okay, I know the score is steady at 700, but I think my probability of default has just gone up by 50%, and I need to be ready for it.
Very good. Small business credit demand is increasing, decreasing, same. And John, your definition of credit demand is, as you said, you take into account vendors, utility payments, you take into account any type of credit, correct?
That is right. And we do have, and you can see this on our website, and this is part of the no charge information we provide. We have a number of small business indices, and the one that is pretty spot on to this question is our small business lending activity. And so it's not quite demand, but it's the number of new loans that are closed. And, we're looking at, our select group, representative group of lenders. And looking at the results here, I definitely agree with these results, overwhelmingly increasing. As we've looked at our small business index, over the past couple of months, we're definitely ahead of pre-pandemic levels, and we have a 3-month rolling average index, and we've actually set 3 records in a row the last 3 months for loans to small businesses, the overall new loan activity metric.
John, what is your definition of a small business?
For our indices, we look at the total obligations that are reported for a business entity, and if it is less than $1 million for all loans outstanding at a given time, then we consider that a small business.
Interesting. Do you have any other charts, Joseph? Do we have more charts for John, or?
No, that's it. Sorry, just for everyone.
All right, so let me throw this one at you, John. So I'm a chief risk officer, and how much, and I look at my small business portfolio, how much risk in terms of loan loss reserve should I be thinking about? And I'm probably not a percentage, but should I be more than 2020? The same as 2021? What advice would you? I know every situation is different, but in general, what advice would you give that chief risk officer?
Mm-hmm. I would think, I would want to look at his data, his portfolio, or her portfolio, or her data. But I would expect it to be a little lower reserve, and less risk. That's what we've seen on a lot of the public banks. That's what we're seeing in terms of actual losses reported to us. And this is another index we have is a small business default index. And we saw this definitely spike up around April through October 2020. But it's been receding since then, and I think we have probably 3 or 4 months consistently decreasing year over year default levels. So that's what I would expect broadly.
2 things that we're trying to get a handle on here are supply chain and inflation. How do those 2 factors impact your analysis?
That's a great question. And
I know it is,
I
and I don't know the answer. So go for it.
it feels like it's company by company. And I've talked to people I know in the industry, friends in the neighborhood, and it seems like everyone, whether it is, waiting for a household appliance or hiring someone or waiting on building materials, it's taken a lot longer. And so most of the companies, I feel like they're in a pretty decent position because the government P3, I'll use that again, P3 loans has put them in a pretty good position, and a lot of companies have made sure they maintain cash. So even though they're behind schedule, they're waiting on parts, they've got orders but they can't fulfill them, I think the customers are hearing this from everybody, and so they're giving a little more leniency, they're more understanding, and because the suppliers are positioned usually with some cash and their customers aren't demanding it, I feel like they can see the light at the end of the tunnel,
Okay.
and if things
That's
keep
positive.
getting better little by little, then 3 months from now it'll be better. Not perfect, but better.
Better. Okay, great. Well, John, I really appreciate your coming on. Please bring in some of your slides next time. Those are pretty cool. But real quick, the lenders can go onto your website. I know you have geographic breakout, you have industry breakout. I mean, you have a lot of cool data.
That's right. Probabilities of default by county.
Wow.
We've got a lot on there, so I'm happy to share. Happy to walk anyone through.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get painted on once a month, and John, you're welcome to stick around. We're gonna talk about some SBA stuff, but I really appreciate your time. Let's go to the third poll question. If you set up a C Capital Access, what's the acronym, Lance? Capital Access
Financial System.
System account updated in your partner information management system. Lance, take it away. What is this, and why do we have to do this, and are we mandated to do it?
Every institution has an authorizing official, and updates are required. Updates are required. In particular, making sure that your contact information in PIMS is correct. And there's also a period every year where you have to update those users of Cap Access. So it's important to meet those update requirements by SBA so you don't have a glitch and have to make several phone calls to get everybody updated and set up.
Very good. The next chart it's from the Fed. And what I like about this chart is a couple things. It talks about business equity by ownership. It breaks it out by white, Hispanic, Black, etc. And what I like about this, Lance, it's not, and John also, it's not a zero-sum game. So when you see ownership in women and Black and Hispanic businesses, it's not taking away from another group. This is not zero-sum. And I know one of the big pushes by the CDCs and whatever are to start creating generation wealth for these some of these minority groups. And so this is, as you can see, there's been a steady growth in some of these buckets, but I like to track that, and that's why access to capital is so important. John, how important? Go ahead, Lance. Then I
was just going to say what's impressive about this chart and what I've seen throughout my lending career. When you look at the personal financial statement of a small business owner, the biggest asset on their financial statement is usually included down under other assets. And you look further on the second page of the PFS and you see ownership in a business. Now, the valuation of that depends on who's putting it on a piece of paper. Some people will take net worth from a financial statement, and some business owners just plug a number in. But It's really, the 36% doesn't surprise me at all over in that final graph, because I see it day in and day out when looking at personal financial statements. You know, you got cash, investments, real estate, but the biggest category typically is ownership in their business.
Yeah, that's very critical. Hey, let's see, what are we doing? Delaney, you want to hop on real quick? Or do we have you on audio?
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
There she is. Delaney, real quick, tell us about what you wrote about today and what are the key takeaways. The title is More Business Equity is Related to Higher Net Worth. First of all, who was the study from?
So this was from the SBA Office of Advocacy. This was released very recently.
Okay.
And it's talking, oh, go ahead.
No, it's your segment. I'm interrupting you.
All right, well, it was talking about the importance of business equity and business ownership to familial wealth. So for business owners, non-financial assets make up almost 60% of their total assets, and business equity represents nearly the same amount as their primary residence would in their non-financial assets. And a big key here, for example, and these points farther down, the median net worth of just a non-self-employed family would be $122,000. Now, when you are self-employed and you are a business owner, that median net worth jumps up to $380,000. So we just see a big increase in what business equity can do for you in the grand scheme of things.
And none of this can happen without access to capital, Lance.
That's exactly right, Bob. And that's, you know, Delaney and I had a conversation about this study, and it makes a huge difference in your access to capital, what your personal financial statement looks like, and those non-financial assets are important. And you know, the business ownership is definitely directly correlated to higher net worth in individuals that are small business owners.
John, we've done a lot of talking about small business access to capital during the Great Recession when there was none, to P3, to the COVID situation. It took going forward, do you see, what type of trajectory do you see small business performance? I mean, there were a couple of bad quarters, but in looking at a lot of the raw data, it looks like we're, as you said, not a light at the end of the tunnel. We were talking about supply chain, but it's looking a lot better than it did certainly in the Great Recession.
Sure. I would expect general performance, improvement, and that's going to depend, of course, sector by sector. Overall, yes, continued steady, but looking at restaurants or hotel accommodations and food service, those are going to, of course, kind of depend on whatever the local mask mandate is and the status of the pandemic. So I definitely a lot more volatility there, but
right.
On a brighter side, and obviously you've got to just be aware of what sectors you're in, and every lender I know, they are all over their portfolios and talking to their customers pretty regularly in all of those sectors. I think they're also seeing a lot of new startup businesses.
Yes, which is surprising to me. I don't know about you. Yeah.
I think there were a lot of folks that, for whatever reason, left their job or their business and did not make it, or they just decided it wasn't worth it, and they're looking for capital and new opportunities. And I think because of alternative data sources, that are more and more becoming the norm and more factoring into credit scores, I think they're seeing gradually easier access to capital, and that'll keep happening. So positive for the economy.
Yeah, unlike the Great Recession, stock market portfolios continue to increase, real estate equity continues to increase, So that is a great source of startup equity for starting a new business. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, very good. Let's see, Lance, we're doing a webinar on Wednesday on the SBA credit memo for loans over 350. Please take advantage of that. In 2 weeks, we're going to do the SBIC program, which all the niches and opportunities that you have to be able to participate in that, and the good stuff that you can do for your institution's bottom line, and also a unique product for Main Street. So thank you all for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Have a great day.